Pooh, how to catch a heffalump. Let's do it, do it. You see Winnie the Pooh and Piglet? You do? Let's do some reading. This could be great. Here we go. It was a beautiful, bird-singing, picnic kind of day in the 100-acre woods. Where shall we have our picnic? Christopher Robin asked Piglet. Where shall we have our picnics? Asked Piglet. I'm not sure. We'll stop when we find a good picnic spot, answered Christopher Robin. Do you see all the birds right there? All of them, all of them? Do you see them right there? You do? Excellent. Here we go. Oh, let's stop here, declared Pooh. How do you know this is a good picnic spot? Wondered Christopher Robin. My tummy says it's time to stop for lunch, and our lunch is in the picnic basket. So I think this must be a good spot for a picnic. Silly old bear, laughed Christopher Robin. We almost forgot to show you the birds. There you go. Excellent, excellent. All right, here we go. The friends spread out the red and white cloth on the ground. It was a friendly, bird-feeding, honey-eating kind of picnic, you know, Christopher Robin says, pointing. I thought I saw a heffalump right over there. A heffalump, said Piglet. Where? Where? Piglet was not quite sure what a heffalump was, but Piglet thought it sounded like a very large and scary animal. It's not there now, said Christopher Robin. I thought I saw one yesterday. I wish I had caught it. Then I could have shown it to you. That would have been nice, Pooh said. Yes, it would have. There's the birds. There's Piglet going, where's the heffalump? And then here's Christopher Robin. They're having their picnic. When they were finished their lunch, Christopher Robin had to go home. Christopher Robin waved, "Goodbye, Pooh. Goodbye, Piglet. Goodbye," called Pooh and Piglet as they waved goodbye. Do you see that? Waved back. Excellent. The two friends packed up their picnic things. That was fun, wasn't it, Pooh? Asked Piglet. It was very nice of Christopher Robin to bring the picnic, Pooh agreed. Do you see him right here? They're waving goodbye to Christopher Robin because they had a picnic and he has to go home to talk to his mama. And then Piglet's helping Pooh pick up with the basket. And Pooh says, it's really nice. And they both are starting home. And Piglet's probably going to wonder if there's a heffalump or not. Let's see. Perhaps we could do something nice to thank him, said Pooh. Pooh said, what a nice idea, Pooh. What should we do? Wondered Piglet. Pooh thought for a moment. I know, we should catch a heffalump for Christopher Robin. Pooh shouted happily. Heffalump? Piglet asked nervously. Isn't that awfully dangerous, Pooh? Perhaps, Pooh replied. Heffalumps are clever animals. I think we need a clever plan. Do you see Pooh going there? And that's actually Pooh, and that's Piglet. And then he goes, we should thank Christopher Robin for such a wonderful picnic that they had. And Pooh's like, what if we go get that heffalump? And Piglet's like, heffalump? They're so big. And that's what Piglet's saying. And then Pooh's saying, well, they're not that big. If we catch one, we can give it to Christopher Robin. And Piglet's like, how are we going to do that? Pooh said, they're clever animals, but we have to have a more clever plan. Let's see. So the two friends sat down to think of a clever plan. Think, Pooh said, tapping his head. Tap, 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 tap. Could we set some sort of trap? Wondered Piglet. Piglet's like, maybe we could set a trap and we can catch the heffalump. And then Pooh is drawing his house, and then there's a little trap spot there. So we're going to get to see what they're thinking of. That seems like a very clever plan, said to Pooh. But what sort of trap we should set up, we should begin to draw. They said before we set up the trap, we should begin to draw and make sure that we know where to put the trap, how deep it is, and make sure that the Heffalump will fall in it. We could dig a deep hole, Pooh said, and the Heffalump would fall into it, into the hole. Where could we dig the hole? Piglet asked, expecting where would the Heffalump fall into. Basically, a Piglet says, where are we going to do a hole, or a big deep hole that the Heffalump would fall into? Where would be a good spot? Where does the Heffalump go? Pooh answered, he drew a picture of the hole under this tree here. See, he has a big one here. It shows the tree, the land, and then the hole. Then he got even bigger and says, what we're going to do is the tree that we're at right here, we're going to make a big hole there, and the Heffalum's going to come along and crash right down in, and we're going to give a Heffalump, and we're going to give it to Christopher Robin to thank him for his wonderful picnic. Won't the Heffalump see the hole? Asked Piglet. They are very clever animals, at least I think they're clever. No, answered Pooh. The Heffalump will look up so he won't see himself fall down. Isn't Pooh funny? Because he's going to look up and not see himself fall down. Piglet's like, but won't he see the hole? Let's see what Piglet says here. Piglet smiled. Yes, he says, this is a very good plan. Heffalumps are always looking up. Piglet did not really know if a Heffalump always looked up or not, but he thought they did. So he believed Pooh. And Pooh says, the reason that the Heffalump is going to fall in is because they always look up. And Piglet's like, are you sure? Then he goes, if Pooh said it, it has to be right. And he says, I'm not sure, but we're going to see what happens. One problem still remains. How would they lure the Heffalump to the hole? We got to think about that. That's when Pooh sits at his spot and goes, think. They need to sit back down and think for a second. And Pooh has an idea. I know. Actually, it's Piglet that has an idea. Piglet said, exactly. Heffalumps are very large, so they must eat a lot of food. So that's what Piglet says. If we fill it up with food, the hole right there, that the Heffalump will come over, fall into it, and eat all the food, and then they can give it back to Christopher Robin so that Christopher Robin could see the Heffalump. And that'd be a great present for him, for allowing them to have a picnic. Piglet drew a Heffalump in the dirt to show Pooh how big it was, or at least how big he thought it was. You see right there? You see the Heffalump? There's the head, there's the ears, there's the legs, and then the tail. And Piglet's saying, see, this is how big a Heffalump is. This is how big of a hole we need. See? Right there. That's how big of a hole that they need so that they can catch the Heffalump. All right. Piglet says, but what food do Heffalumps eat? Pooh asked. We're going to find out what food they eat. Piglet turned around to find that Pooh had fallen asleep. Now he's dreaming of honey up there. All this Heffalump talk had tired out the bear of little brain. That's what he says. He says all this talk of planning and finding out what he needs to do had made Pooh sleepy. And look what Pooh's dreaming. Do you know what he's dreaming about? Honey! Yay! Great job. Pooh, said Piglet. Pooh, what are you doing? Yes, Pooh sleepily. What do you think a Heffalump likes to eat? Asked Piglet. Pooh thought of the only food he ever thought of. Honey, he replied. Yes, Piglet said exactly. That is a good idea. Heffalumps like honey. At least he thought they did. Hooray, Piglet cried. We have a clever plan now. You see the honey right here? You do? Where do you think they're going to put that honey? I'll give you a second to think. Excellent. They're going to put it right in the hole where the Heffalump would fall in, and then they'd be able to catch the Heffalump. Great job. So they decided that Pooh would go home, get a pot of honey. Meanwhile, Piglet would get a shovel to dig the hole. Do you see Pooh going home? Do you see Piglet with his shovel? And he's walking back going trot, 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 trot. And Pooh's going into his cupboard. You see that? He's getting his special honey pot. When Pooh got home, he opened his cupboard. This spot is far too heavy. Or this pot's far too heavy to carry, he said. So he's like, I don't want to give that one. That's probably my best one. It's too heavy to carry. Pooh decided to remove some of the honey, and since he did not have anywhere to put it, the honey he put in his mouth. Yeah, the honey he put into his mouth. He put some honey into his mouth. He reached down with his paw. Do you see that? Says, I'll lessen the honey a little bit so that I can carry it. Otherwise, it's too big and too heavy. And we know what happens with Pooh. He makes the munching sounds. Yum, 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 yum. You know how Pooh does. So he puts his paw in there, and then he puts it into his mouth. And Pooh is a very, very hungry bear. And look, now it's light enough for him to carry. The honey pot was still heavy, so as he walked along, Pooh ate some more. Then he ate some more again, and again, and again. As Pooh walked to meet Piglet, the pot felt much lighter, but for some reason his stomach felt heavier. So what do you think? Do you think he ate the honey, or do you think there's still some in there? I'll give you a second to think about it. Exactly, you're exactly right. Pooh probably ate all the honey, and then therefore why it's lighter and his stomach is fuller is the honey's been eaten by Pooh. And now he's going to try to put the honey pot down, then he's going to go, where's all the honey? When Pooh arrived, Piglet had nearly finished digging the hole. Did you bring the honey? Piglet asked. Yes, answered Pooh. Pooh handed the honey pot to Piglet, and together they placed it into the hole. The trap was set and ready to roll. Do you see how he walked? This is Pooh with it. He's walking. He sees Piglet, who has already dug the hole. He's all dirty. Pooh has the pot. Pooh passes the pot to Piglet, and Piglet places it right in the center of the trap. And they're going to catch that Heffalump, maybe. We'll see. It was getting late. Pooh and Piglet decided to meet at their trap in the morning. Then they would see if they had caught a Heffalump. Good night, Pooh, said Piglet. Good night, Piglet, said Pooh. See, there's the dingling ring. They're saying good night. Piglet just has dug the pit, and Pooh's like, we'll meet up tomorrow and see if we caught a Heffalump or not. And so he's waving goodbye, and Piglet's waving goodbye. All right, let's get to see some more. Later that night, Pooh woke with a rumbly in his tummy. It could only mean one thing, he says. He was hungry. You see, he's sitting up there going, rum, 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 rum. That's his stomach going, rum, rum, rum. The only thing it could be is, I'm hungry. So Pooh went to his cupboard for a pot of honey. But when he looked inside, the last spot was empty. His last pot was empty. So he's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so he's like, oh no. So we're just gonna think for a second. What do you think Pooh should do? What do you think? I'm thinking that he might go to the pit. What do you think? Or maybe not. Maybe he'll find some honey or not. You never know with Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, of course. Okay, one moment. Come on. There we go. Okay, dokie. Now we're going to continue on with the story. Then, so he went to his cupboard for a pot of honey, but when he looked inside, the last pot was empty. So we saw that. Where did all the honey go? Where has all the honey gone? Oh, bother, Pooh says. And suddenly he remembered he had left a pot of honey in the Heffalump trap. The Heffalump likes honey, said Pooh. But it will probably eat the whole pot. At least he thought it would. This is it. What is a home without honey? Do you see that? That is so funny. That's funny, 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 funny. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Pooh could not fall asleep. His empty tummy gave him strange thoughts. He kept imagining Heffalumps chasing giant pots of honey. Oh no, not giant pots of honey. Do you see that? They're chasing it and chasing it and chasing it and chasing it again. Do you see that? Right up here. You see it there? I'll give you a second to look at it. Okie dokie. Perfecto, mundo. Excelente. So you got to see all the honey pots and everything working out for Pooh. You see he's dreaming that's a Heffalump. There's a Heffalump honey pot. There's a Heffalump. And they're all eating all of his honey. He's going, no, not my honey, not my honey. And so now he's setting out to make sure that all the Heffalumps don't eat all of his honey, because he's going to go make sure they get some, because he gave his honey away. The more he thought about it, the more Pooh wondered if Heffalumps really did like honey. So he's trying to now rationalize, if I go get the honey, do Heffalumps really, really, really like the honey after all? And if they did not, then the pot of honey in the trap would still be there, just waiting to be eaten. So Pooh jumped out of his bed, and ran out the door. Do you see that? He's like, he's thinking to himself, do Heffalumps really, really, really do like honey? Or did I imagine that? And I'm going to go check and get a smack roll of honey, as Pooh always said. Perfect. Soon Pooh reached the Heffalump trap. There's the trap. Pooh tried to see if there was a Heffalump in the trap, but it was too dark to tell. So he moved closer to the hole, but he still couldn't see. So he moved even closer and closer and closer and closer until, oops, he fell into the hole. Oh no. Pooh was like, I can't see if the honey's there. I can't see, I can't see. So he got closer, closer, and oops, he fell right into the hole. Pooh looked into the honey pot and decided that the Heffalump did like honey, because there was only a little bit left in the pot. Who else could have eaten it? Pooh stuck his nose into the pot to lick the last few drops. Good, good, yay! Oh, there's Piglet. Now he's having a bad dream. Piglet's having a bad dream about a Heffalump coming over and chasing him. At the very moment, Piglet was lying in bed thinking about the Heffalump. Uh-oh. I wonder what a Heffalump looks like. He's got a Heffalump that's an elephant and a bee. Piglet said to himself, it is very horrible. It is a very horrible. Oh, no, no, no. Then he goes, I must go see what the Heffalump looks like. Piglet was quite worried. Heffalumps were very large, and he was very, very small. What should he do? I don't want to be afraid, Piglet said at last. He can't catch us if we're catching him. That's what Piglet said. Basically, he says, I don't want to be afraid anymore. So he jumps up. He says, he can't catch me if I catch him first. And so he's probably going to go to the trap and think that a Heffalump's down there, but it's actually Winnie the Pooh. So first thing the next morning, Piglet ran to the trap. Very slowly, he inched closer to the hole, but he could not see anything, so he moved a little closer. Suddenly, Piglet saw a strange monster with a big round head. Uh-oh. Piglet had never seen anything like this before. Do you see him down there? We know who that is. But Piglet thinks it's a Heffalump with a pot on his head because he ate all the honey. He was terrified extremely. Oh no, oh no, oh no. What monster is this? Oh no, oh no, oh no. We've caught a Heffalump, he cried. Christopher Robin will be so happy, yay! He goes, I caught one, I really, really caught one. But it's actually Winnie the Pooh, we know that. And so now he's going to go to get Christopher Robin and tell him. Piglet ran to Christopher Robin's house. Piglet was so excited that he didn't even stop to say hello. He just ran straight in. What is it, Piglet? Christopher Robin asked. He had never seen Piglet so excited. We caught a Heffalump, Piglet shouted. You have? Asked Christopher Robin. Yes, Piglet cried. It was a big, strange head of the size of a honey pot. Show me, urged Christopher Robin. So Piglet took Christopher Robin to their trap. Yay! He's going to show him the trap and everything. Christopher Robin walked up to the edge of the trap and looked down in. Piglet stayed safely behind him. Oh dear, cried Piglet. Can you see it? Can you? Yes, I can, Piglet, answered Christopher Robin. It is horrible, Piglet said excitedly. Christopher Robin smiled and began to laugh. Ha 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 ha. He laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Suddenly a loud noise came from the hole. Crack! Piglet looked down and what did he see? Winnie the Pooh, that's who. Piglet had caught it. Piglet had thought it was a Heffalump, but it was really Pooh with a honey pot stuck on his head. Oh boy, boy, boy. This is interesting. Later that day, Christopher Robin, Pooh, and Piglet had another picnic in the woods. It was a beautiful day with the sun shining down on the three friends. He never did see a Heffalump, said Piglet. That's okay, said Christopher Robin. Heffalumps are rather shy anyways. That's so cool. They're best friends. Yes, agreed Pooh. Besides, I had no honey for it, and Heffalumps love honey. At least I think they do. Christopher Robin laughed. Silly old bear, he said. I love you both so much. They're team and family and everything. Here we go. Here's the sand pit here. There's the rabbit's house, Piglet. There's the sand pit where Roo plays. A niche for Piglet, or a nice place for picnicking. Owl, Pooh's house. There's the floody place. 100-acre woods. There's Rabbit's family. There's the bee tree that Pooh always gets honey at. The big stony rocks. My house, that's Christopher Robin. There's Eeyore, and then there's the bridge that they do. They drop sticks to see who will win. I think that's it. Let's see if we can do another book really quick. All right. Let me see. Okay, let's try. Oh, here are the Lost Boys. There's Jane, Peter, Wendy, Tinkerbell, Captain Hook, Danny, the Lost Boys, and Hook's crew. All right, Neverland. Here we go. Once upon a time, a girl named Winnie met a magic boy named Peter Pan. He took her to a wonderful place called Neverland, where no one ever grows up. When Wendy returned home, she promised, I'll believe in you, Peter Pan. Years passed, Wendy grew up, but she never forgot her promise. Every night, Wendy told her two children stories about Peter Pan, the Lost Boys, and a tiny fairy named Tinkerbell. Wendy's daughter, a seriously 12-year-old named Jane, had no use for make-believe, no make-believe stories, basically. But her brother Danny loved to hear the stories again and again, especially the ones about Captain Hook and the treasure. Captain Hook and his men stole treasure from other ships. They kept their loot on their ship, the Jolly Rogers. Right there, that's the ship. One night, Peter, Pan, and the Lost Boys slipped aboard the Jolly Roger and stole Hook's treasure. It was all just a great game for Peter Pan. You see, they came and got the treasure, and now they're going to put it on. Peter and Hook had a long, fierce sword fight. Eventually, Peter and the boys escaped with the treasure. Then Tinkerbell showed the pirate ship, actually showered the pirate ship with pixie dust, which made the Jolly Rogers float off into the sky. You've seen the end of me, Peter Pan. I'll get you for this if it's the last thing I do. Captain Hook shouted as he drifted away. So Tinkerbell put magic pixie dust, and then it's going to fly away, and Peter got all the treasure, and the Lost Boys did too. Hook will never win as long as there is faith, trust, and pixie dust, Wendy said as she ended her story for the night. Danny was delighted, not Jane. She thought it was all just childish nonsense. Peter Pan isn't real, and people don't fly. They do not, too. They do, too, said Danny. Oh, Danny, grow up, Jane said, and went to her room. Jane lay down on the seat next to the window. After a while, she fell asleep. While she was sleeping, something strange happened in the sky. Outside, a surprising visitor appeared. It was someone she never, ever expected to see. Oh no, there's Captain Hook's ship. Jane woke to see Captain Hook standing next to her. Hello, Wendy, Hook said wickedly, thinking Jane was her mother. Before Jane could explain, Hook ordered his first mate, Captain Smee, to put her into a big sack. My apologies, Miss, Smee said as he tied the sack. Hook and Smee took Jane aboard the Jolly Rogers and headed back to Neverland. Hook had a plan to trap Peter Pan once and for all. With Wendy as bait, we will lure Peter into his doom. Hook braced Smee. As good luck would have it, just as the pirate ship arrived in Neverland, Peter and Tink appeared. Hook's men fired a cannon at Peter. Of course, they missed. So Hook pointed to the hanging sack. He boasted that he had captured Wendy and planned to feed her to the octopuses that lurked in the waters. Let her go, you black-hearted scoundrel, commanded Peter as he and Hook began a sword fight. You want her? Ha ha. I'll go and get her, Hook shouted. There she is right there. Captain Hook raised his sword, cut the rope holding the sack. To Peter's horror, the sack dropped into the water. Bravely, Peter dived into the water to save his friend. Tinkerbell followed close behind. Peter might need her for help. Captain Hook and the pirates peered eagerly over the side of the ship. After a short while, Peter's hat bobbed up to the surface. Minutes later, when Peter didn't appear, Captain Hook shouted triumphantly, I did it! I did it! I really did it! I'm free of Peter Pan forever! Yay! That's what he's thinking. But Hook's cheer was cut short. Out of the water rose Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Peter floated away with the sack in his arms. Tinkerbell sprinkled pixie dust on the giant octopus, causing it to raise high above the Jolly Rogers. Then Tinkerbell abruptly stopped sprinkling pixie dust. The octopus landed on top of Captain Hook with a loud crash. Hook hollered as the beast started to pull him over the side of the ship. The hungry octopus was very happy to have caught a Captain Hook dinner, but Captain wasn't happy about being dinner. Smee! Hook yelled, Smee! Smee grabbed Hook's hook hand. Smee and the octopus pulled and pulled in opposite directions. Finally, a mighty yank, Smee wedged the captain out of the octopus's arms. The two pirates flew through the air and fell into the cargo hold. Smee had saved Hook, but the captain wasn't the least bit grateful. Mr. Smee, be a good fellow and fix the plank, please. Hook groaned, so I can make you walk it. Meanwhile, Peter and Tinkerbell flew to safety. Peter gently placed the sack on the ground and began to untie it. He couldn't wait to see his old friend Winnie. But when Peter opened the sack, pop! Thinking she was still a prisoner of the pirate, Jane had let loose a terrifying punch. Oh, you are not Winnie, Peter said, rubbing his jaw. Just then, Hook fired a cannonball at them. Peter flew with Jane in his arms. If you're not Winnie, who are you? Peter asked. I'm her daughter, Jane, the girl replied. As they flew over Neverland, Jane was amazed at all the sights below her. Suddenly, Peter stopped flying and dropped Jane into a hollow tree. She slid down a very long channel thing. Jane landed at the bottom of the underground treehouse where Peter lived with the Lost Boys. Nibbles, Slyly, the twins, Cubby, Toadly, and dropped down from the ceiling to greet her. There we go. All right. This is Jane, Peter told the boys. She's going to stay here and be our new mother and tell us stories. The Lost Boys gathered around Jane excitedly, but Tinkerbell wasn't so pleased. She wanted Jane to go home. Tinkerbell didn't want to share Peter Pan's attention. Let's play a game, said Nibbles. How about treasure hunt? Peter suggested, but Jane didn't want to play. No, Jane shouted. I have to go home, Jane told them and stomped off. What's the matter with her? Asked Cubby. Peter scratched his chin and thought hard. I don't know, he says. She acts like kind of a grown-up. Said the Lost Boys. Do you see her there? And then these are the Lost Boys. And then they're looking for a treasure, and she built a ship, and they're saying goodbye. Peter followed Jane and soon found her building a raft so that she could sail home. He watched as Jane pulled her raft into the water and jumped on board, but she didn't get far. Let's see what happens. Almost immediately, the raft began to break up and sink. Jane fell into the water with a big splash. Then she saw she was in trouble. Peter flew over to save her. The only way out of here is to fly, Peter explained. Then he set her down on the top of the ledge. Anybody can do it, Peter assured her. All it took was faith, trust, and pixie dust. But Jane refused to believe she could fly. So Tinkerbell sprinkled some pixie dust on the Lost Boys, and they glided into the air around her to show her how it worked. Then Peter asked Tinkerbell to sprinkle Jane with pixie dust too, but Tinkerbell didn't want to do anything to help Jane. She thought that Peter liked Jane too much. Peter knew just how to pressure Tinkerbell. Gosh, if Jane can't fly home, I guess she'll have to move in with us, he whispered to the little fairy. tiny fairy. Tinkerbell didn't like the idea at all, so she sprinkled Jane with lots and lots of pixie dust. But all the dust just made Jane sneeze. Achoo! Now Peter was sure that Jane could fly, so he nudged her off the ledge, but Jane didn't have the faith and trust she needed to fly. Ah! Jane cried as she fell. The Lost Boys tried to catch her, but they missed. Jane landed in the soft ground with a thud. Jane was terrifiedly angry and upset. "Leave me alone," she cried. "I don't believe in any of this, and I especially don't believe in fairies." As Jane stomped away, Tinkerbell began falling towards the ground. She could no longer fly, and her light was fading. Oh no! Peter knelt down to hear that Tinkerbell was saying, I worried Peter told the Lost Boys, "If we don't get Jane to believe in fairies, Tinker's light is going out." The group spread out to find Jane. Meanwhile, Jane came upon Captain Hook, who was weeping miserably. He told her that Peter Pan had stolen his treasure, but Hook needed it to sail home to his mother. Captain Hook promised to take Jane home if she helped him find the treasure. Jane agreed, and he gave her a whistle to sign him or tell him when she found the treasure. Jane didn't know it, but because she had been tricked into Captain Hook's plan to capture Peter. She's like, "I want to go home," and so she thinks Captain Hook's a good guy, but he's not. He's not a good guy. Soon Jane met up with Peter and the Lost Boys. "Jane, I'm awfully sorry," Peter says. "We want to do something to make it up to you. We want you to feel like you're one of us." "Well," Jane says, "why don't we play treasure hunt?" "That's a great idea," said Peter, "but you'll have to think like a lost boy and have fun like a lost boy." Jane couldn't remember the last time she had so much fun. Eventually, Jane discovered the treasure. When she remembered Hook's whistle, Jane realized that she didn't want to betray her friends, so she threw the whistle away. Unfortunately, Toodles saw the shiny whistle, picked it up, and blew it loudly. "No, wait, no," Jane cried out, but it was too late. Captain Hook and the pirates heard the whistle, and in no time captured Peter and the Lost Boys. Hook thanked Jane. "I couldn't have done it without you. Ha ha ha," he told her. You're a traitor, Jane," Peter shouted angrily. And because you don't believe in fairies, Tink's light is going out." Hook took Peter and the Lost Boys back to his ship. This time he wasn't going to let Peter get away. Jane needed Tinkerbell's help, but she found the tiny fairy very weak. Jane started to cry. "I'm so sorry," she says, because she did not believe in fairies. Then something magically happened. Tinkerbell's light started to flicker. Soon the fairy's light was shining brighter than ever. "Oh boy, good, she believes in fairies now." Jane and Tinkerbell arrived at the Jolly Rogers just in the nick of time. They easily outwitted Hook, especially when Tinkerbell sprinkled Jane with pixie dust, and Jane flew away before Hook could capture her. Yay! Then just after Jane freed Peter, Hook made another attempt to grab her. "Oh no, God, ouch!" Hook began to swing on the rope towards her, but Peter swiftly grabbed his dagger and cut the rope. Hook fell into the water. "Oh no, not again, not into the water." And onto the octopus. "Not again." Smee, yelled Hook as he tried to escape. "Let's hear it for Jane, the one and only lost girl." The Lost Boys shouted. Peter looked sad. You can fly now. You can go home," he told Jane. "I'll miss you," Jane admitted, But now I have a great story to tell you all about Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. So Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and Jane flew back to Jane's home in London. Whoa! At home, Jane and her family were very happy to be reunited. Jane told her mother and Danny about her adventure in Neverland, about pirates and treasure and giant octopuses and Tinkerbell and especially Peter Pan. Peter saw that his old friend Wendy was now a grown-up. "You're changed," he told her. "Not really, not ever," Wendy answered. Wendy could always believe in Peter Pan, and now Jane would too. There we go. Do you see them? They did treasure hunt here, and then they had all the fun there. And so what have we learned from our friend How to Catch a Heffalump, Pooh and Piglet, and Winnie, and then Peter and Jane? We learned that we have to believe, we have to stand together, we have to work together. And when Piglet and Pooh worked together, they caught a Heffalump. That's what Piglet thought. But when Jane realized that she was one of the lost boys, but the lost girl, she realized that she had the faith of a child and she believed it. And that's the one thing we all got to have is belief. So thank you so much for coming on Peter Pan in Return to Neverland and How to Catch a Heffalump. Thank you so much. And as we always say, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, and come back to Happy Time Story Time for more videos. Be blessed, my friends. Bye-bye.